According to reports that are coming in, Trump has said that he had a great conversation with Netanyahu, and according to the Axios report, Trump says that he and Netanyahu are on the same wavelength. Trump says that the Iranians got close and then pulled back on talks. Trump says, and I quote him here, "I can go long and take over the whole thing or end it in 2 or 3 days." Now, Trump has floated off-ramps after having attacked Iran. This is an interesting bit of a report that is now coming. That Trump has floated off-ramps after the attacks where he has said that I can go long and take over the whole thing or end it in just 2 or 3 days. This, of course, is the statement by Donald Trump. What exactly does Donald Trump mean? It'll be very interesting to know, but this is the phone call that he reportedly apparently had with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, where Trump has said that he had a great conversation with Netanyahu, and according to the Axios report, Trump has said that he and Netanyahu are now on the same wavelength. Trump has further said that the Iranians got close and then pulled back on the talks. Trump says, "I can go long and take over the whole thing or end it in 2 or 3 days." But Trump has also floated off-ramps after attacking Iran. This, of course, is the latest bit of information that is coming in, where Donald Trump has spoken with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he has said that he can in fact go long or end it in a short while. And my colleague Susan Tehrani is joining us with more updates on this. Susan, what is the latest with respect to this phone call that Donald Trump has had with Netanyahu?
President Trump did earlier speak with Prime Minister Netanyahu, but Mohammed, very interestingly, he had a quick 5-minute conversation with Axios, where he sees several possible off-ramps to end the Iran conflict quickly, arguing that the operation does not necessarily have to turn into a prolonged war. He says he remains open to a diplomatic exit if Iran backs down, while also warning that the U.S. could escalate if needed. Trump also said that he ordered the strikes because negotiations had stalled and because he believed Iran was moving closer to rebuilding key capabilities. So basically framing the military action as both a show of strength and leverage for maybe even a potential negotiated deal. It's hard to really fathom that right now, but that's what he told Axios. So overall, his message is that the campaign could be short and limited, but Iran's response will determine what happens next. Of course, we are also hearing from that statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that there are a lot of indications that Iran's leadership, notably its Supreme Leader Khamenei, may be no more. He stopped short of confirming that, but these two fall in the same line, so in the next hours we'll see what happens.
Interesting that Donald Trump, in that conversation with Axios, has perhaps said that he could be looking for some diplomatic off-ramps. Susan, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, I'm told that we also have a retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a military expert and the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, and he's joining us live from Virginia in the United States. Colonel Davis, thank you very much for joining us here on WION. Now, what do you make of these latest statements that have come in by Benjamin Netanyahu, where he says that there are many indications that perhaps the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is perhaps no more?
Yeah, that would certainly be a noteworthy event. It wouldn't signal any kind of a change from the Iranian side. However, they're certainly well aware of this possibility. They've been saying for weeks that they have transition plans, and that if a number of leaders across the board, military, political, they've already got suppliers, or not suppliers, but they have people already lined up, ready to take their place if they did. They already had successors nominated. So I'm sure if that's true, that they'll have another successor and he'll take the place.
Yes, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is 87 years old, and the Iranians had said that there is a clear line of succession that they've already put in place, knowing full well that there would be hostilities. Colonel Davis, do continue to stay on with us. I want you to weigh in on some of the military aspects that are playing out in this conflict at the moment. But let me bring in my colleague Susan Tehrani. Susan, the Iranians reportedly have said that they are shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is a crucial global choke point. 20% of the global oil supplies flow from here. Have you heard any reaction at all from the American side about this key development where the Iranians say that they've shut down the Strait of Hormuz?
There were reports earlier, Mohammed, that the Iranians have called for the shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz. However, As military experts, and I think Colonel Davis might be better fit to answer this, they've seen the path to Hormuz, and it seems that ships are still passing the Strait of Hormuz. There were a number of ships who were exercising caution because of the situation there, but until about an hour ago, the Strait of Hormuz did not seem completely blocked. Of course, that would be an extremely noteworthy development, and it's hard to imagine that the Trump administration and also the Israelis didn't take that into consideration and a possibility that Iran would take this step. But nonetheless, that's bad news for oil prices and the instability in the region. But again, the latest models and tracking that we've been seeing is that there are ships going in and out, despite the fact that there were reports from the Europeans that Iran has asked for ships not to cross.
All right, interesting. Susan, do continue to stay on with us. Let's in fact get this breaking update that has come in, where CENTCOM has now put out some images of some of its strikes on Iran. The CENTCOM's task force has said that one-way attack drones, or what are effectively Kamikaze drones, were used in combat during Operation Epic Fury. Now, this, in fact, is for the very first time that these low-cost drones were used by the Americans. They are modeled pretty much on Iran's Shahed drones. CENTCOM has said that they are now delivering the American-made retribution. So this is an interesting development, where the Americans have now said that they've used these low-cost drones, which had been talked about a lot. Colonel Davis, if I can bring you in on this. Now, this is an interesting tactic that has been deployed by the Americans. You know, the economy of fighting a war such as this, where these Iranians were firing these $20,000 drones that were being shot down using interceptors that cost anywhere from $100,000 plus, to bring down a drone that cost a fraction of that cost, was going against the American and the Israeli air defense systems economy. How do you view this development that the Americans are also now using the drone that is modeled on the Shahed drone?
Yeah, it's just the normal evolution of war. I mean, when you saw it become such a predominant part of the Russia-Ukraine war, and it had been part of the Armenia-Azerbaijan war in 2020 before that, it was definitely going to happen. And in fact, militaries all over the world are moving in that direction. Now this is the first time that we've had the capability that's been put into production and then now ready for use in combat operations. So as I understand, this is the first time we've used these in combat operations, and I'm sure that this has become now a normal part of the arsenal. So everybody's going to have to find ways to defend against these kinds of drones, and to find ways to counter the other side, and to shoot them in offensive. And if you don't have them, you're not going to do very well in modern warfare.
Right, indeed. Colonel Davis, do continue to stay on with us. Susan, it's interesting that CENTCOM has now put out these images, where they're also showcasing some of their strategy of what kind of drones and ammunition that they have used. This is a clear recognition by the Americans that for them to win the war, especially in the long haul, they also need to match the kind of tactics that the Iranians have used, which clearly have shown themselves to be better in terms of fighting an economy of this war.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And it's also important to note that, remember, Iran is dealing not only with the most powerful military in the world. The United States said that it has been really using new capabilities in these strikes that Iran may not be familiar with. For example, those one-way attack drones, and then, the similar ones that are to the Shahed drones as well. So I think that also gives an advantage to the Americans. But another noteworthy thing, and again, I would love to get Colonel Davis's viewpoint on this, is usually these attacks happen overnight. It was very interesting to see that the United States and Israel decided to go in Iran and attack in daylight. Perhaps that was for the element of surprise, where the Iranians didn't expect it, and that element of surprise also caused perhaps more damage than the Iranians expected, because the retaliation from the Iranians, at least so far, hasn't been overwhelming, at least to Israel, and Israel's Iron Dome hasn't been overwhelmed even.
Right, I think that's a crucial point that you've raised there, Susan. Let me in fact take that to Colonel Davis. Colonel Davis, you understand war better than most others. A lot of people would have expected that an attack of this nature would have been unleashed by the Americans and the Israelis in the dead of the night, like they did with their previous attacks. But the fact that they decided to initiate this attack roughly at 8 o'clock in the morning in Iran, what do you think was the game plan here? Why stage an attack of this scale in the daytime?
When you're talking about primarily missile attacks or drone attacks, I mean, it frankly doesn't matter what time of the day. It's not like if you see the missiles coming, you're going to be able to shoot them down, and if you don't see them, you're not going to be able to. The technology is there in such that you're not going to be able to do anything one way or the other, or if you can, missile interceptors could care less. They don't see it with the naked eye or with the visible light spectrum anyway. So it really doesn't matter in modern war. You would think to that because you'd want the other side to be asleep or not paying attention. But that's if there was you were looking for trying to get surprise.
Right.
There's no surprise here. Everybody's known that this was coming. Everybody's watching. So whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the night, it's really not going to make much difference because everybody was pretty much up. And in fact, it may be possible, and from some of the sources I had last night, that it was supposed to have come somewhere in the middle of that 4 a.m. But there was some operational reason why it delayed, and then that's when they came. So I don't think it really makes much difference now.
Interesting. Now, in the lead up to the attack, there was a lot of talk about the kind of capabilities that Iranians had acquired in recent days. There was a lot of talk, especially about this Chinese radar system called the YLC-8B that has a range of about 700 kilometers. So any missile that is launched in this radius would have been detected by this radar system. In your assessment, looking at what has played out with respect to how the Americans and the Israelis have managed to stage attacks, do you think the Iranians actually have this radar in their possession?
It's unknown. We can't tell right now because there hasn't been a lot of air power tested in Iranian airspace. It's entirely possible that they're going to withhold that and to use it because if they do have it, there's not many of them. So you would really protect that capability and use it on your most vulnerable area when you really needed it the most. So I would imagine that they might hold that back a little bit and put it in whatever they consider their highest priority target. But until there's a test in there, because if a lot of these targets are going to be serviced by the United States and Israel, they're going to have to cross eventually into Iranian airspace, and they're going to have to do refueling operations over it, etc. So there's a long way to go on this, and they're going to, even some of the S-300, S-400s that they have are capable against that kind of thing too. So I don't think it was any kind of a magic capability, and if they had never had it before and they've never operationalized it, who knows if they could integrate it with their missile capability anyway. So I'm not sure that it's going to have been a game changer one way or the other.